and welcome back to my channel. Today is my 1 month of official YouTubing. I am really proud of myself. My videos are consistently getting better and I continue to try. And today I wanted to focus on two things, and I'm going to put two videos today. The first video is going to be on God is Gray. A disclaimer with her: please do not go to her page or send her any hate if you disagree with what she says in this video. She is absolutely wonderful. She has a beautiful soul and a beautiful mind. She's very articulate. She is very kind. And she is one of those Christians which I actually enjoy associating with and having a conversation. And that seems to be all she wants. And I think she's amazing. I think you should give her channel a look. The video we're going to cover for her today is on purity, because we are going to go after Paul and Morgan and Girl Defined in just a little bit. But let's jump into the first clip of hers and go from there.
Realization that sex is a part of life. My background is I was a very casual Roman Catholic, but even though we didn't go to church that often, I prayed my little heart out all the time by my bedside. I loved Jesus from the get-go. That was always something I was very passionate about. But that said, while I was becoming a woman, while I was becoming aware of sexuality and my interest in the opposite sex, I never prayed and felt conviction from God about masturbating. I never felt convicted for having a crush or two, or laying in bed imagining kissing a boy that I liked. These things were not on my radar to equate them to shame. All of that changed the moment I was 12 years old and stepped foot into a non-denominational, born-again, evangelical Christian. Such a genuine love for God. I was just like, okay, tell me more. And of course, because it was a youth group, sex became a huge part of the conversation. They began to tell us that God cries when you masturbate. They told us that if you date people outside of church, you're risking eternity in these unevenly yoked relationships. They told us if we had sexually impure thoughts, they were of the devil. I don't know if these teachings are familiar to you guys. I know of others where girls are given chocolate bars, chocolates, and the boys take off pieces of the chocolate bar and they say, look, when you have sex with all these boys, you're not going to have any chocolate bar left for your husband. Or they'll take a glass of water and put dirt in it and say, every time you have sex, the glass of water is getting dirty. Do you want to be a dirty glass of water for...
Okay, so she's discussing how she didn't really think about how sex was wrong, or how having a crush on a boy or kissing a boy was wrong, until she went to an evangelical church. And that's been my experience as well. I was raised, I really need to tell the story, but I was raised very evangelical, conservative Christian in what is considered the independent fundamentalist Baptist kind of thing, except for the fact that my mother didn't follow it as hardcore as the rest of my family did. Like, she's divorced. But I did grow up on the system of purity. One of my first conversations outside of what my mother taught me was that women are like gum. If you stick that in your mouth and then use it, no one else is going to want it. And for me, that was a really hard struggle to get past. I, for years, felt less valuable, even though I no longer believed in that faith. My virginity being lost to my ex when I was young had a huge impact on how I saw myself, and I like how she describes the same thing, and she will tell you that you are no less than if you have had sex. No, you are not less than. And for any girl or any young boy that is watching this video, if you are not pure, or whatever they want to call it, and you feel like you are less than, or you are no longer valuable, you are just as valuable as you were before you had sex. I had sex before I was married to my husband. I've had other partners, and my husband has as well. We both love each other very much. Our relationship is an open dialogue, and we are good together. And I really, really, really hope you understand that you are nothing less than what you were before. You are the same person, you are just as valuable, and you are just as lovable. And don't ever let anyone tell you anything less. Let's jump on to the next clip.
victory. If you are doing that as a choice out of your heart, out of your walk with God, that is amazing. It is the purity culture and the messages that drive me crazy. My two major problems with purity culture are that one, the so-called educators keep you guys in the dark. They really believe that ignorance is bliss, that if kids don't know what sex is, they won't be having it. That's been statistically proven wrong a million times over, but abstinence-only education still promotes that idea. My second problem with purity culture is that whether it's presented through purity balls,
Karen, in order for you to receive the full gift of purity, you need to be as honest as you can.
fear mongers,
You have teenagers running around going, I'm a virgin, and they're infecting each other like wildfire. Keep your pants on!
or toxic misinformation.
What if I want to have sex before I get married?
Well, I guess you just have.
Okay, so in the clip we just watched with her, I totally agree with what she's saying. I want to start off if you're coming here and you are a virgin and you choose to be a virgin until you are married, that is absolutely 100% your choice. I will not judge you for it. I will not look down on you for it. There are several members of my family that are in their 20s that are still virgins, late in their 20s. Like, I'm in my 30s and only a couple years younger than me, that are still virgins, and that's their choice. I don't look down on them. I don't judge them. I'm not judging you. That is your choice, and good for you. Good for you for following something that is important to you, and good for you for sticking to whatever it is that you choose to stick to. You are also still valuable and still loved, and you are a wonderful human being either way, whether you are having sex now or you are having sex later. You're still a wonderful human being. And the second thing I want to talk about is where she goes into the whole purity culture. I absolutely agree with her when they do the whole fear-mongering thing. Condoms, I've heard condoms are completely ineffective, so you shouldn't use them because they don't work. Birth control causes abortions, and if you take both, you're sinning and God will hate you, and all sorts of other ridiculous things that are not true. Abstinence only is not an effective birth control method. I mean, it is 100% effective, but it is not an effective method of teaching kids about sex, because teenagers are curious and a lot of teenagers are going to have sex, and when you push this whole condoms don't work or birth control causes abortions and things like that, not only are you getting a whole bunch of unwanted pregnancies, which will eventually lead to some actual abortions, and I know that if you're purity culture, you're against abortions, it will lead to actual abortions, then it'll lead to young teenage girls being forced to have children, and most of the time men are not held accountable for this. It is the women, and women, I'm telling you right now, you got to protect yourself from stuff like that. Condoms are good. Always, when I was active and I wasn't with my husband, I had condoms and I was on birth control. I ensured that I took that method of protecting myself, because at the end of the day, as much as they say that they're not going to walk away, men can walk away, you cannot. And I did not want to have an unwanted pregnancy. It's why I'm 30 and I don't have children, because I made that choice. I made that choice to protect myself, and I highly encourage that if you are a young woman and you are sexually active, please take that precaution on yourself. Make sure that you are the one that always has condoms, that you are on birth control, and that you protect yourself, because not all men are going to want to do that, and that is unfortunate. But it's just a fact. Now, to the young men that are watching this, condoms are important. I know that you say it desensitizes or whatever, but it cuts your risk of STDs. It cuts your risk of causing an unwanted pregnancy. And it's a 50-50 here, boys. It takes two to tango to make a baby. You are just as responsible as that woman. And it is not her job to make sure that you behave yourself. Now, back to the whole women thing. It may not be your job, but I'm telling you, not all men follow it. Please protect yourself. Okay, let's jump on to the next clip.
Believe God calls us to. Because when you think a part of yourself, your sexuality, is innately evil or wrong, you are forced to compartmentalize. My sex life here, God here. And that causes discord and pain. Instead, I encourage you to welcome God into your sex life. I can hear the sound of atheists laughing.
Like,
What?
I'm being serious. I encourage Christians, even if you're messing up or sinning, to welcome God into your intimacy, because that's the only way to get clarity. The last thing I'll point out is that Bethany and Kristen actually did a video for Girl Defined on I Kiss Dating Goodbye by Joshua Harris.
But just recently, a lot of articles have been surfacing from people who read it back then in like the 90s, early 2000s, and they're coming out and saying this book ruined my life, it ruined my relationships, my marriage is in shambles because of following the principles in this book.
I do not judge them for not understanding the complexity of what can go wrong with purity culture, because Bethany and Kristen are both abiding by that and it's working out for them. But it really has been problematic for a lot of people.
Okay, in the next clip, she kind of delves into the LGBT community, trying to make people that are LGBTQ into heterosexual relationships. I want to delve a little more into that. I want to start out with, if you're watching this video and you are from the LGBT community, or you are a Christian that is struggling with your sexuality, there is absolutely nothing wrong with you. You are perfect the way you are. There is nothing wrong with loving another human being and because they have the same genitalia as you, that you cannot be attracted to them. Attraction is a biological thing. You are born that way. You are wonderful. You are loved. I accept you. There are other people in the world that accept you. We hold no judgment, no hatred, no anything. We understand and we care about you. And please, please understand that you are deserving of love. You are deserving of absolutely everything wonderful in the world, and that you are not wretched. You are not a sinner. God is not going to burn you in hell if there is a God, because before I got out of Christianity, I was more like God is gray. But I promise you that any God worth any time is not going to burn you for loving another human being. And if you follow that God and you think that he is, that is the most petty, ridiculous thing I've ever heard. So I just wanted to throw that in there. We're going to jump on now to the I Kiss Dating Goodbye book. I hate that motherfracking book. If you have read that book, you will understand. I actually intend to read it again here in the near future as an adult, break it down, and completely and totally just go after and debunk and argue with that book, because it is single-handedly one of the worst books I was ever forced to read by my ex's mother. And I can't remember if it was or it was another book that said that, like, actually having a dream, a sex dream in your sleep is your fault, and the only way to fix that is to read the Bible. No, that is a perfectly natural thing. And for people to push this purity where you have to have pure thoughts and you have to be perfect and you can only date someone in a group as well, you don't get to know someone in a group of people and then you're expected to marry this person, and that is not okay. That book is not okay. That culture is not okay. And understand that no matter what anyone tells you, you are valuable and you are loved. So let's jump on to the last little bit and then I will sum up. Okay, I want to thank God is Gray for being so kind and understanding. She's one of the few Christians on YouTube that I've seen that actually give me hope for humanity. Oh crap, sorry, my phone. I'm getting a tripod tomorrow or Tuesday or someday soon. I'm getting a tripod that'll hold the phone for me so I can do this. But thank you, God is Gray, for being as wonderful as you are. I have watched several of your videos. I think you are amazing. I think you are someone that I would love to get to know. I know many Christians that are like you, and I'm grateful for those Christians that are like you. I am grateful for the Muslims that are like you. Just being an all-around decent human being, and this is proof that Christians can be decent human beings. I know a lot of times atheists get this shit into the stick, and we tend to lose hope in humanity when we listen to people like Girl Defined and Paul and Morgan and the NIFB, or we go into a church that is the IFB, and we see all of this, and we sometimes forget that not everyone is that way. And I just wanted to review her video and go over it because she is such a positive influence, and I absolutely adore her. That's all for today, and I will see you later.